On today's segment of Preparing Your Home Like a Cook on a Ship, we're going to talk about meal planning. We're going to look at the 30-day chart, the timing of each day chart, and your preferences. So grab your notebook and let's go.
Hi, and welcome to Yeti at Large. This is a channel focused on making the most out of what you have, no matter where you're at. Thanks for tuning in and helping.
As we get a little more into the actual planning portion of your preparedness scheme or ideas, I want to talk about tracking what you eat, what your family eats for 30 days. Ideally, 30 days is the minimum. If you only do 14, two weeks, that would be enough. But I think you should write down everything that you eat over a 30-day period. I would also divide it into 3 categories: that morning, that afternoon, and the evening. Now, you need to ask yourself, and there's no wrong answers here, so don't get caught up in thinking that you need to be more traditional if you're not. How do you like to eat? How does your family eat? Do you have rigid 3 meals a day at the exact same time every day, and that works for you? Or are you a grazer? Do you like to nosh throughout the day and not have any large meals? Are you a breakfast person and a late lunch but no real dinner? Do you absolutely have to have a snack? You need to know those things about yourself. Where is your comfort zone? If you can't sleep without a bowl of ice cream before bed, I'm not saying that's a wrong answer. I'm just saying that you should know yourself, because it's very important that you focus your preparedness ideas towards how you like to eat, how your family eats. If you're a rigid 3 meal a day at the exact same kind of days, then you could draw 3 lines on your chart and fill in for 30 days when and what it is you eat. You might be pretty predictable. It might be cereal 7 days a week for breakfast. You might be a breakfast burrito person. Whatever works for you, know thyself. So that's how you're going to chart. If, for example, you absolutely crave that bowl of ice cream before bedtime, then you're going to have to make decisions based on what you want to be comfortable and to be happy. Now, ice cream might be difficult to come across if there's supply chain issues. But what other things can you do? What other ideas can you have? And what things can you inventory in your pantry that could make a treat like that possible? Now that we have our pattern of how we eat and we're prepared to chart it for 30 days, front load that chart. Ask yourself, what do I absolutely love? What do you know you're going to eat in that 30-day window? Is it going to be noodles and sauce? Is it going to be rice and stir fry? Is it going to be soup? If you have some things that are just so predictable that you know you're going to eat, go ahead and turn to the back of that notepad and start to write those items down. Leave plenty of space next to each one. Let's say, for example, you know that you want Italian food. So based on that, what are the ingredients that go into that Italian dish that you're going to eat? And maybe you like 3 or 4 different types of pasta with sauce. There's always going to be some universal elements in that can translate across many of those. So once you've written down some of those items, it's lasagna, it's fried rice, egg fried rice with chicken, it's meatloaf, it's broccoli, vegetable, carrot, lo mein. If those are those things, write those down on the end of that notebook. Then go into the middle and write yourself some categories. Vegetables, fruit, starch. Starch would be potatoes, rice, pasta, noodles, wheat, flour, cornmeal, oats, etc. Meat, dairy. What kind of dairy products do you want? Take a page for each one of those major category items. And as you go and you're going to start determining what it is you really like to eat, what you find yourself eating, you're going to start to pull items out of each one of those ingredients that you're going to need, and you can start to build your grocery list. For example, dried onions could show up on a lot of those items that you like to cook. So if you have the dried onions, then you start to fulfill that requirement through the recipes. Pasta. tomatoes. The list can go on and on. The spices, herbs, obviously salt, pepper, and cooking oil are going to be the first three things you put in just about any pantry. But you can build your grocery list based on the things you know you like to eat, based on the things you find yourself eating. And that's how you plan this out. Remember the axiom that we follow: buy what you eat what you buy. If you're not into amaranth and quinoa and barley, why would you buy a bunch of that just because it's in a Mylar bag? Translate that. So let's say you do have a bunch of it. Then start finding some recipes to start using that and consuming it. There are a lot of whole grain cold salads that are just fantastic, that you can cook those grains, add some herbs, some dried onions, some sun-dried tomatoes, a little oil, a vinegar, and a little bit of hard grated cheese. Make a phenomenal cold salad. Think of couscous, think of pasta salad, think of potato salad. Let's shift gears a little bit and let's go to our featured product today. We're going to talk about meat and more specifically protein. So in today's featured pantry item, preparedness item, we're dealing with meat and protein. You'll see I have a few things in here that extend past just basic meat, but I wanted to focus on some other alternatives. This is a variety of some of the items that I keep in the pantry, and let's go down them really quick. Louisiana dried shrimp. These can be reconstituted. They're packed in a Mylar bag. These are fantastic. If you go to your grocery store and look in the back section of the Ahuapo spices, they typically will have the seco camarones back there, which is very similar to the same thing, but I really prefer the Gulf cod shrimp, and I like supporting those businesses. Now, I have a lot of the canned chicken here. I use this for a lot of different things. I will not be buying pre-canned chicken anymore, though. Now that I have the pressure canner, I will be doing all of my own canned chicken and beef from this point moving forward. But these are nice. They're fairly low sodium. They used to be affordable, but they've gotten much more expensive. I like a lot of Italian food and other different things with clams in them, so I keep clams as opposed to tuna. I really don't like canned tuna. It's funny, I was a sushi chef for a while and I eat raw fish, but tuna just doesn't do it for me. These are real bacon, shelf-stable bacon bits. They come from one of the big box stores. The window here shows you a pretty good view. These can be reconstituted in a little bit of water and cooked, and you can add these and get a lot of great quality bacon notes and flavors out of that. Now I continue on with canned soups. There's a lot of meat in these. And what I love about canned soups is the fact that grid down, low power, challenges with water, you can heat this up right in the can. You can eat it cold if you need to. And it's a pop top, makes it quite easy with that. What I don't love is the high sodium. This was a Dakota Trails kippered beef jerky product that I found. Speaking of sodium, it's relatively low in sodium, which surprised me being a teriyaki. But this is in a heavy-duty shrink-wrap bag. Says it's best by April 11th of 2023, so I still have about a year on it. But as you can see, I got 10 pounds of kippered beef in here. This is a quality shelf-stable product. I keep this out of the sunlight, away from pests, and in a very cool, dry area. I expect it to last quite a while. Now, some of those alternative protein sources that we were talking about earlier. I realize that premium fish sauce may not exactly count as a meat prep, but I can't cook without it. This is one of my favorite condiment and sauce additives. If you take a Thai green chili, a little bit of this fish sauce, and a little bit of lemon juice and stir it together, makes the best condiment you've ever had on top of a lot of your Asian-style meals. Canned sweet peas. By the gram, may have more protein than your baked beans or your pinto beans. So it's a fantastic protein substitute. Everybody has the shelf-stable dried beans in their pantry. I also keep canned. I have two types here, traditional refried style and then a whole pinto. I much prefer the whole pinto. It gives me more flexibility. I can do a lot more with that. They do make a vegetarian canned bean as well that doesn't have the lard in them if that's something you want to avoid. And those don't take any water and very little energy. Another highly overlooked prep that a lot of people will miss are athletic powders. Weightlifters use a lot of these. This whey bolic is from a GNC product, and it has dairy protein as its source. But one serving of this has 40 grams of protein, leucine, which is an amino acid, EAA, another essential amino acid. It's if you look at it, it's very low in fats, but high in protein and high in muscle energy. Makes a decent coffee creamer, as weird as it may sound. And then other things that I keep, my homemade beef jerky. You saw my previous episode where we did a whole eye of round. This is the last of the beef jerky. As soon as I run out, I'm going to make some more. I don't just always buy other people's products. So other food storage options, the freezer in the garage. Now a lot of people will have a chest style freezer. I can't stand those because they're difficult to work out of, and you can get a lot of things lost in there, and they're just not user friendly, even though they're far more efficient than the upright. This freezer is only 7.5 cubic feet. It has elements in each shelf, really eats up a lot of the storage space, but it's very efficient and it's very user friendly. It's a hot mess right now. Normally I keep several packs of tortillas, sausage, I stock a lot of butter, and then I will just stock tri-tip or chuck, chicken thighs, chicken breast and salmon, cheese, and frozen concentrated orange juice. These are the frozen items that I eat that I can use for a great number of things. Right now we're running pretty low. I have some of these amazing all beef hot dogs. They're kosher and halal. And I have a few buns. In a true grit down situation, this stuff would get eaten quickly and we would go to a different plan. I'm going to reload this with another case, 40-pound case of chicken thighs and 20 pounds of salmon and another 40 pounds. I buy chuck roll, break them down, and then process them in here. Here's some of our burger patties that we built on our Rival Grind-O-Mat. Now, if the grid goes down, I have a generator capable of running this. I'd run it for about an hour in the morning and an hour at the night. And I've also built an insulated box to slide over this while it's not being plugged in. It increases the R value, I think, by R60 of an increase, so it's going to hold temperature much better. This thing holds a lot of frost for some reason, but it's a great little freezer. It's done us well. And if the power goes down, many of these items, the butter, the meats, will get processed through the pressure canner and stored long-term shelf stable that way. So I defrosted one of those packs of chicken thighs that I had out in the freezer, and I'm going to grill them, and this is my favorite basic marinade. A little bit of paprika, a little bit of dried oregano, sea salt, black pepper, honey, lemon juice, and I'll go about double of what I have of the honey, and then my own garlic prep. We'll get into this a little bit more downrange. And if you can't tell, we're garlic fans here. So let's do a brief recap of the planning session. I've done it for so many years, it's so natural to me that I want to make sure I didn't go too fast. Write down what you eat for 30 days. Track it by knowing your eating patterns. How do you like to eat? Several times a day, 2 big meals, whatever it is. Then go to the things you know you're going to eat automatically, your go-to comfort items. Once you have those 3 things, in the middle, start to build a shopping order guide of the things you know you're going to need to produce those items. I'll tell you right now, oats, honey, dried fruits, and alternative grains to oats, quinoa, amaranth, flax, those things. I like a good oatmeal in the morning, and I can make that with reconstituted dry fruits. I can make my own yogurt, and I can go that route, but I know that those are core staple items that I'm going to have. So once you plan that out, you can write yourself out an order guide. Once you have that order guide, the things that you know you need for your pantry at your home, then you can go to looking at what do you have in the pantry now? Go down and go through everything. What is a par? A par, meaning how much do I need to have on hand at all times no matter what? You don't want to buy too much. You don't want to buy too little. There's a sweet spot. Obviously the sweet spot is, will it spoil before you can consume it? And I use the word spoil very carefully. I'm not as interested as the dates on the cans, although I do pay very close attention to those and I rotate. But I also trust my nose, my eyes, and some common sense. So if I can consume something before it spoils, that is critical. It's pouring rain out here and it's actually pretty cold. I don't know if you can see my breath standing next to the grill, maybe not. I go through twice a year my pantry, pull everything out, clean it, sanitize the pantry, and put it all back looking for those items that need to get consumed. Right now I need to make some cornbread, I need to make some banana bread, and I need to use up some of the canned fruit that I have that I know is getting a little age on it. We'll do something about that a little bit later. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, I love this chicken, this marinade. Now, look, I make no apologies because I eat meat. I also offer no criticism for those who don't. The argument about producing food, good usable calories, it may rage, but I've seen it from the manufacturing, the crops, the agriculture, the orchards, all the way through to the end consumer. If you have questions about some of those common arguments and discussion topics that are taking place in our modern food system ethosphere, I welcome those down in the comments below. I love almonds, but I know that an almond takes as much water as this chicken does to produce. I try to source a lot of my proteins very locally. I like to buy a half a cow when they butcher them down the road and share it with a few of my neighbors. Our turkeys right now, we know who they are. They're walking around Chino Valley. When it gets closer to Thanksgiving time, we'll go down and pick those up. I know the grower for those. Now, when I'm grilling, these tongs have touched raw meat. I went in and washed them up really quick before I start to flip them when the meat's a little more cooked. And keep in mind as well, I use the example of ice cream. God, yeah, I'd love to have ice cream. But if you're in a position where manufacturing ice cream might be a bit of a challenge, you're going to have to look at some alternatives. If somebody comments down below and they want to see some alternatives, how you can do some homemade ice cream as long as you've got freezer capabilities, I can show you a couple tricks to get that feel on the tongue for what ice cream can do. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today at Yeti at Large. I very much appreciate you guys coming along. I hope this kind of stuff helps, and if you want, I can draft up some actual forms on Excel and put them in the links if you need planning and tracking assistance with the 30-day, the favorite items, and the order guide, and the PARs. I do suggest there are a lot of other websites and channels out there that have done a lot of work on this. I think of Chris over at City Prepping. He has some phenomenal guides to help you track that. It sounds like a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be if you go through it quickly and sit down with the family. I use this for the staging today because I've moved my indoor plants off of the wood-burning stove because I'm using it now. Charo the habanero here is doing great. These are our gingers that we planted from a chunk of leftover store-bought ginger. And this is a wild tomatillo a very dear friend of mine gave me. I've got them underneath a basic grow lamp that's on an 8-hour timer. And it's just a house plant, but she flowers real pretty, so we're hanging on to her. I thought it was a good stage. And Charo just keeps cranking out habaneros. Look at that monster. And no, I will not eat one for your viewing enjoyment. Oh, I just couldn't help myself coming off the grill. This is meal prep too. We'll cut all this up. We'll make quesadillas, burritos, cold sandwiches. We can just eat it with a grill. All kinds of things we can do with this. Little stir fry. That was almost a disaster.